Good morning, Melanie. How are you?
Good morning. I'm glad we're getting to chat.
This is so cool. I'm so excited. Welcome to Epic Conversations, a little bit of a deep dive into the members of our community. And I messaged you a couple of months ago
Yeah.
and said, we need to talk.
Yeah, because it's been 2 years, two epics that I've been to now.
Two epics and a new book.
Mm-hmm. This
Prove
is
it.
true. Yeah, with a
Eh,
fellow epic community member, Phil
Yeah,
Jones.
Mr. Phil Jones, exactly. So I need to know a lot about you. So typically what my plan is to ask a series of questions, the same questions to everybody.
Yeah.
So it kind of allows us to get to know a little bit more about what you do, who you are, why you're epic. Is really what I want to know. So question is, so how did you end up? Okay, first off, let's go back. You're an author and a
Yeah.
speaker.
Yeah.
Which came first, chicken or the egg?
Speaking came first for me. So I'm a former journalist. I went from journalism to marketing. So writing was always sort of my first love. And once I was in marketing, I realized that writing and then speaking thereafter was like a really great tool for me to be able to share that knowledge with other folks. And so I first spoke by filling in for a colleague who wasn't able to go last minute. So I was like a last minute substitution. And I got back from that trip and I was like, I loved that. I want to do more of that, like on purpose, not just as a backup.
So you started speaking, and how long ago was that?
That was about 9 years ago now.
Almost approaching your
Yeah.
decade
Yeah.
of being a
Yeah.
speaker,
Which
and
is
and then
wild.
yeah, it's incredible, right? And it's so much fun. Being a speaker is so much fun. If you know what you're talking about and you like talking about it,
Yeah. It's the best.
it is. So
Yeah.
that brought you out to your first book, Content Fuel Framework,
Yeah. So content
which
field framework came from a workshop that I was doing with a bunch of folks. And at the end of the workshop, I had been doing this workshop for like 2 years, and people were always like, well, where's the resource? Like, what do we take home with us? What's the aftercare essentially for this procedure? And so content field framework was born from that. It really fully existed in my head. It was something that existed in slides and in lectures. But I just kind of wanted to put pen to paper and make something accessible to leave behind. And also because I come from humble beginnings, so to speak. And so there's always a part of me that feels like I'm going into these massive corporations with these huge budgets and, getting to share this knowledge with them. And I don't want to gatekeep it. I want to make it accessible to, like a small business owner or a solopreneur. Like I don't want to be in this ivory tower where the information's not accessible.
so Content Fuel Framework. Now, here's an interesting story. I'm wandering around Epic this year, chatting with one of our members, Melly, and who's from Florida, originally from
Yeah.
Boston. And Melly says, "Oh my God, do you know who's here?" And then I'm like, "She goes, Melanie's here." Melanie wrote my favorite book ever, Content Fuel Framework. I never leave home without it. Like I love that book so much.
She had it with her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not even realizing you were going to be there,
Nope.
which is crazy.
And the best because that book came out like 2 weeks before the whole world went into lockdown. It was in early
I
2020.
remember you. I
And
felt so bad that came out,
oh,
and oh,
because yeah, it was like the book tour. There was like a 5 city book tour. There was like all these things planned out, and everything was canceled. And like all the speaking gigs were canceled. So there goes all
mhm.
that exposure. So I never really got to have that author experience. Like I didn't have book signings. I didn't have people in person saying, "Oh, I loved your book." Like I never got any of that. So it's still amazing, even though the book's 3 years old at this point. It's still novel to have those kinds of experiences, and it was really cool.
So what is it? What is like? So in Canada, we have a thing called the Coles Notes, which is like they take books and summarize them
Oh, Spark Notes.
every before Chat GPT and Google.
Yeah.
Every student would get Coles Notes, so they would have to read
Yeah.
the whole book.
Yeah.
So what is the content of Content Fuel Framework? What is the substance of it?
Yeah. So
I
content
have
field
not. I'll be
framework.
honest, I haven't read it. I've done Prove
No.
It. I just haven't done Content Fuel Framework.
Yeah. So content field framework is essentially a process to come up with content ideas. So coming through journalism, like I never thought of content ideas, story ideas as this scarce resource because we just keep putting out stuff every day. And so I didn't realize that a lot of folks in sort of the marketing side would think of it that way, that like it's hard to come up with ideas. I can't think of anything. So essentially, content field framework was me doing a lot of soul searching to figure out what is the mental process that's happening for me when I'm coming up with content ideas. And I figured out that it's essentially a matrix. Like what are we going to say? Like the focus of the content is on one side, and then how can we bring it to life? The formats are on the other side. So this book walks through 10 different focuses and 10 different frameworks, which gives you a 10 by 10 matrix, or 100 different ways you could tell any story. So really trying to make it super tactical to say, you never want to be in that position of what should I say or what should I post? So trying to kind of address that pain point.
Has any of it changed post pandemic? What you wrote coming out 2 weeks before March 13th, whatever it was, like,
Well,
would you like go back and change any of it?
well, it's funny because you write the book before it comes out, obviously, and there's like that time gap. So there were a lot of examples I used in the book that were no longer like applicable or timely, talking about, like, for example, if you're planning an in-person conference, like, here's how you might go, those kinds of things. A lot of hypotheticals that probably I would have skipped or redone if I knew where the world would be when folks are reading it. But luckily, the basis of it, I try really hard to be sort of platform and technology agnostic, because that stuff is always changing. Like, there's always going to be a new platform, chat GPT, NFTs, AI, like there's always going to be something. So I really try to break it down to its simplest parts so that you can apply it to wherever you're sharing content. So thankfully, no, like, the framework itself remains intact, but some of the examples probably could have been a little more pandemic-y if if I had the knowledge.
Yeah, but none of us knew. I mean, I had a parent once message me from our camp program, and we had to cancel camp for the summer
Yeah.
because she said to me, her words were, "Well, you certainly weren't very prepared for this pandemic, were you?" And I
Was
thought, "Was
anyone?
anybody? I wasn't
If you
around in
knew it was
19.
coming, maybe it wouldn't have come.
Wasn't around in the Spanish flu. I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't there. I remember it.
You don't have ancient contingency plans.
Right, exactly. So then you go through the pandemic. We come out the other side of it,
Hmm.
and Prove It comes out.
Yeah.
So what led you to Prove It?
So Prove It was, it was sort of the next natural step for me, because the first book being, here's how to come up with content ideas, then the next question I get from folks is, okay, now how do I choose? Like, which ones should I prioritize? What should I be focused on? And my answer was always something along the lines of, well, what does your audience need to believe in order to do business with you? Like, where's the gap in what they think about you and what they should know about you, and how do we fill that gap? So it's really what Prove It is in a nutshell, is saying, how do we identify the claims that you're making and then create content specifically to back up those claims, to build that trust, close that gap between what they think about you and what they know, to make it easier to do business with you. So it was, again, coming out of request of folks saying, okay, well, now what's next, and kind of putting that together based on all their questions. And the partnership with Phil worked out so well. I was sort of, Phil and I have known each other for a long time, and obviously respect him as an author, as a speaker. And so I had just had one of those, sort of pick your brain, bounce ideas off as I was going through the initial iterations. And we realized that there was this really magical quality about the fact that I was coming at it from a pure content and marketing side, and he had a perspective from a sales side, and that this kind of had broader application than I would be able to share alone. So it was an easy decision for us to kind of move forward working on it together, and having him add his action items and sales perspective throughout to make it more broadly applicable. So worked out really well, and it's always fun to collaborate with friends.
Oh my God, totally. I love Phil. I'm actually going to New York um, to hang out with him for his certified program, his certified
Oh, fun.
Zach with the City program, and a bunch of Epic people are coming down too. You should come hang out. There's about a
Yeah.
bunch of us coming down there to Epic. I'm kind of hosting a dinner, so I'll buy you dinner. It's gonna
Oh,
be amazing.
nice.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Being the non-New Yorker that I am, I'd like to
Yeah.
host you in New York. So we gave everybody at Epic a copy of Prove It.
Yeah.
And if you could summarize kind of like what you want a reader to take away from it. Like, if you had to do that, like someone said, well, what am I taking away from this book?
Yeah.
And you broad stroked it there, but like,
For sure.
what is the one thing what do you want to take out, and how? Okay, answer that question first.
I think sort of the underpinning of all of my work, and so Prove It included, is I want to give people creative confidence. I think it breaks my heart when I hear people say, like, oh, I'm not creative, I'm not an ideas person, I don't write, whatever the case may be. We all have that, and we've been sort of socially conditioned to not take those risks, to not guess, to not have fun and play with the content we create. And so I think I want them to walk away feeling like, I know how to create content that will make my audience trust me. I know how to build my case. That confidence, that knowledge, like self-knowledge, I think is probably the best possible outcome in my mind.
So everyone out there right now is saying content is key, right? Like the better the content, the better the connection.
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering is in 2023, March 28th, 2023, what are you seeing now post pandemic that's resonating with the audiences? Like, what do you see that's resonating? Is it because I think we've gone to this really amazing world of Canva perfection, where everyone's a graphic artist now because they have Canva.
Yeah.
Everyone's an author because they have ChatGPT. Everyone's a speaker because there's a microphone.
Yeah.
So, what I'm wondering about is you're sitting there and there's all these platforms. Some, of course, like, are kind of controversial now. TikTok is being a lot of flack against TikTok.
Yeah.
There's the old school Facebook, Instagram's around forever, Twitter's been around forever, and forever is not really forever. It's really
But,
the scale of the world, not that
15
long.
years.
Yeah, right. So,
Yeah.
but what are you telling someone out there who's in business? Like, where do they focus that content? And should the content be polished? Should the content, I've heard people say, content should be raw. It should be just from you. It should be like
Yeah.
authentic, whatever the hell the authentic means. But like, what are you saying? What are you saying right now about that?
I have the most annoying answer to that question, which is it depends on your audience, right? It totally depends on what they want. In terms of the folks that I have fun with, entertainers, I want raw content. I want to see them doing their thing. The surgeon that I'm choosing for a, difficult medical procedure, like I don't want to see you on a run. I want to see you, sharing your thoughts on the latest research. Like that's the kind of confidence I want to have in you. So it definitely differs just depending on, again, coming back to that prove it process, like what is it that I need people to believe about me? And does sort of casual, off the cuff, more human conversational content suit that? Or am I really trying to make like a competence play and I want to emphasize my experience, my polish, my sophistication? So I think it's going to depend on the audience. But I think the biggest thing, and this is like evergreen advice.
I like that term, evergreen
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There's always going to be a new platform, and there's always going to be this tremendous amount of pressure to be everywhere doing everything. It's crazy to think about, we were saying like 15 years ago, but you didn't have, I mean, there were so many tasks that we do every day that didn't even exist then. I mean, like all the social media stuff, the email marketing, the digital marketing, the search marketing, like this stuff is additional work being added on to the actual business that you are running. And so it's really important for me to remind people that like you are a human and you have the same amount of hours in a day as everyone else. And so choose where you have an impact, find the intersection of where your audience is, what you have the skills and passion to create, and focus there, because it is so much better for you to be incredible in one place or two places than to be mediocre in 20. Nobody is looking for.
That's so good. Say that again.
It's so much better to be really good in one or two places than mediocre in 20. Nobody looks at someone who's a famous TikToker and says, well, they may have 10 million followers on TikTok, but their LinkedIn's really lacking. Like, no, they found their place where they have their traction and they've gone all in. And so I want kind of folks to think of it that way. It's like, where can I have my biggest impact? Where am I like to say everyone has a first content language, like the way they like to express themselves most naturally. For me, that's writing. For some people, that's audio, it's video, it's, photography. So find the place that suits your content language. Where do you like to create? How do you like to create? And where does that stuff live that hopefully your audience is there as well? That's going to be where you want to focus your attention. Just relieve yourself of the unrealistic pressure to do all of the things in all of the places.
Is that what you're being asked most often by people? Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Well, that, and there's like this persistent question that has always existed of like, what's the best time and day to post? Like as if, Wednesday at 2:35 p.m. is like some magical thing. Those numbers are always no, it's not.
I've been doing everything at 2:35 p.m.
Well, it's like, and I always say anyone who gives you that data is talking about their content with their audience. So your data is going to be different. So I don't know, that it depends. Let's think about your audience answer is also kind of evergreen.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I always love that 7 o'clock is the best time to have content. Well, 7 o'clock in New York is not 7 o'clock in, Oregon.
Yeah, exactly. And it depends again, like where is your audience? Because you may be in Oregon, but like, is your audience all East Coast? You want to think, or is it more like international? You kind of gotta factor all those things in. But
I love
it's
what you said about like, you know, rather than be good at a couple things rather than mediocre at a bunch of things.
yeah.
I'm paraphrasing. I love that line a lot because there's I saw a speaking website the other day of a speaker who was inquiring about doing a program, being a speaker at one of our programs, because we run a lot of youth programs and stuff. And I looked at their website, and on their website it said topics to talk on. It was literally, they went to a thesaurus
Oh
and
no.
just listed every word with leadership, teamwork, like
Oh no.
bullying. It was like every possible, like, I'm like, there's no way you can talk about all of these things. Like there's just no way. It's like why don't we add on like oil changes and baking? Like how could you possibly be knowledgeable in all of these fields? And I think that's, everyone's trying to get, there's that old saying, you can't make everybody happy all the time, but you can make some
Yeah.
people happy some of the time.
Yeah.
If you twist that into like content, like you can't please everybody with your content, but you can
Oh
really
yeah.
make some people really happy with your content.
Yeah, I mean, the analogy, I used to do some like speaker coaching, helping people kind of choose their topics and stuff. And I would always say it is so much better to be a steakhouse than a buffet, because if you focus on like
That's $1 million line. Better be a steakhouse than a buffet.
right, because if you are okay with eating anything and you kind of don't really have any preferences, then you
You
pick
don't
the
care if it's all that
buffet.
good.
Right, exactly. You don't care if it's all that good. You're going to go somewhere where you can get a little bit of everything. If you want to take someone out to a really nice meal, to celebrate a promotion, to celebrate your anniversary, just to like treat yourself, like you're going to go somewhere nice. You're going to go to the steakhouse or the oven fried pizza place. You're going to go to the
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 place.
sushi and seafood place, right? So, it's so much better to choose that focus and really go in than to try to do a little bit of everything and be nobody's favorite.
Yeah, my brother was in the food industry, and he always said, well, he'd always said, don't buy a fish dinner at a steakhouse and
Yeah.
be pissed off when it's not good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't buy. It's
Exactly.
some people like, don't buy a fish dinner at a bakery because they
That
shouldn't
too.
even be doing it at all.
I mean, don't we do like don't buy sushi at a gas station? Because I
Yeah,
don't
hundred
know.
percent.
Is that a
Grocery
thing
store
up there?
sushi.
Yeah, like just no, that's not their specialty.
This has turned into cooking with melon stew.
Yeah.
So that is absolutely brilliant. That's just so like that. Those two pieces of advice right there, like, are just so absolutely brilliant. And I think that's what people are, there's so much at them. There's so much coming at them, right? Like you got to do so much
Yeah.
all the time. And now there's like these different platforms where you can post 15 different things all at once. And
It's just exhausting, honestly.
yeah, and I think what you
I
do on, remember when Instagram was just pictures?
Yeah. Now it's
Now it's all
like
video.
reels and stories and
I
shorts.
saw a
I mean, it's
hashtag
all over the place.
hashtag bring old Instagram back or something like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, just I want pictures. It had the frames. You could get little frames
Yeah.
for them. Like it was just,
And
just
you
so
had that
simple.
that horrible filter called Toaster that just turned everything orange.
I
Oh,
love that
those were
one.
those were the days.
That's like if you go back to my Instagram, that's like my first one I did, the
Yeah.
toaster. The one that had that also had the little frames like a strip of film.
Yep. Classic.
Classic. Right? Because what you post on Instagram is what you post on Twitter, is what you post on Facebook, is what you post on TikTok, is what you post
Ideally
on
not. Yeah. I mean,
on
and
whatever.
I know it's funny because I've talked about a lot of this stuff too. Is there was a time when all these platforms first started coming out, and we had no idea how to adapt. That people were just posting the same thing everywhere. And I like to think about it like sending invites to a party. Like if you are having a party at your house, there are some people are not going to show up unless you send them a Google Calendar invite. There are some people
Mhm.
you're going to have to text and you're going to have to remind them 3 times before. Some you could send the paper invite in the mail and they're going to be there no matter what. So it's the same thing. Like you're having a party and you can invite different people in different ways, but the same one size fits all is probably not going to work for the entirety of the folks you want to invite to the party. So it's helpful to just consider, what is working for your audience and working for you, and just, focus your attention there.
This is epic. This is epic. Okay, I got some questions for you. These are my
All right,
rapid
go.
fire my rapid
Let's do
fire
it.
questions. What do you want to be doing in 5 years? What a
Oh,
stupid question.
I have no idea. Like
Great answer.
fully transparent. Because if I had answered that question at any time in my life, I would have been catastrophically wrong. I'm really big on like, I don't want to say go with the flow because I'm not remotely a chill person. But like being open to opportunities that I wasn't expecting and kind of listening to what the market, the universe, whatever is telling me. So I'll be wherever I need to be in 5 years is my hope.
Where you need to be. Buddha
I,
says, not that I'm a big Buddhist, but a great Buddhist quote says, "You're exactly where you're supposed to be."
yeah,
I just love that quote. Like
yeah,
you got here by the decisions that you made.
yeah.
It's where you're supposed to
Well,
be, good or
and
bad.
we have something similar in Islam. So I'm Muslim, and one of the quotes that comes from the Quran is that if God meant for it to hit, it wouldn't have missed, and if God meant for it to miss, it would never have hit. So like it's sort of like the universe is
Wow.
giving you
Brilliant.
what it needs, and if this opportunity didn't pan out, it's for a reason, and you just kind of like it is what it is, and you move forward, understanding that maybe not everything happens for a reason, but that there's sort of something bigger out there that's making some of these choices, and we don't always know
Yeah.
what we need.
I do struggle with the sometimes everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, because
I do
like
struggle with that because I mean I can totally link that. I can totally say, yeah, this happened. And if I backwards ripple it, I call it. So
yeah,
like backwards to where the stone was dropped or the event happened, I could figure out what I learned and what I gained from that. But sometimes
yep.
I can't, right? But
Yeah, well, and that's why I don't
that's a
necessarily
bigger
love
question.
the like everything happens for a reason, because I think it almost implies that the bad things that could happen to
That's
us
what I mean.
are deserving, and like I don't want to believe that anyone deserves bad things to happen. But I think at least for me, it's that idea of like surrendering that no matter how much I try to plan, no matter how much I try to control for, like life is going to continue to play out, and hopefully I have the tools within me to make it through, whether it's good or bad, you know?
Insert pandemic here,
Yeah, exactly. It
right?
was
Like
just 3 years of doing a bunch of stuff I've never done before.
someone said, like those people who preach 5-year plans don't want to talk about the pandemic
Right, right. Well, there's a really interesting
because
book.
it blew everything up.
Oh yeah, the Black Swan by Nicholas Taleb is all about those sort of unpredictable things and how you can't really plan for them. And I think that's kind of why I'm like I don't know what I want to do in 5 years. Like the world, there's a lot of world happening between now
So
and then.
much,
Like
and so much will
honestly,
change.
the whole country might shut down, and I'm gonna be up there with you guys in Canada. Like who knows?
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'll
You're
be
welcome.
there.
Yeah, we'd like to have you. This is I love this question. What is your magic wand moment or your magic wish moment? So what that means, if you're not picking up
Mm.
on it, is it's the old, genie in the bottle gives you a wish. What is that one wish? Or what's that? If you have a magic wand, what you
Mm.
do? What was the one thing you do for yourself?
Ooh, for myself. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Just
That's
for
a
you.
challenge because I would not have defaulted to that.
I know.
Um,
Epic conversations are
man,
epic.
yes, really good questions too.
Thanks.
Um, I think this might be a poor answer. I think it would be something around convenience. Like just I wish that like all the meals that were healthy and were just ready when I wanted them, or like the outfits just pick themselves every morning. Like just kind of getting rid of some of those decision fatigue things throughout the day that are just logistics. Because I got lots of exciting things I want to do. I don't want to be doing some of that stuff.
Wasting your time on things that don't really matter,
Yeah.
or we spend too much time worrying about.
Yes. That. Too much time worrying about it.
Mine would be I don't know if you ever watched Star Trek or if you ever watched Star Trek in your whole
Yeah.
life, but there's a technology on Star Trek that's called the transporter,
Oh,
and it'll take you anywhere you want to go
beam
like
me
that.
up.
Beam me up, Scotty. And that
Yep.
is exactly what I want. I want a transporter so I can just I could come hang out with you and have coffee with you right now.
See, that's a better answer, Stu.
No,
But
it's not a better answer, but I've
if
thought
you
about it a
have
lot.
the if you have the transporter, can I use the transporter as well? Like, could we do a
You
win-win
can share
situation?
technology.
Yeah, transport to my house. I give you some pre-made meals. We'll be good to go.
Oh my gosh, look at us. All right. So how do you define epic?
Mm,
Now that's epic. That's a very broad question,
it's an epic question. Yeah,
but we're part of this epic community, and I always wonder how
yeah.
people define the word epic to them.
So the word and not the community.
The word epic. What is
The word
epic to you?
epic. I I think doing more than was thought possible, and like obviously that's different in different contexts, but to me epic is just above and beyond whatever the expectation was, whatever the promise was, whatever the limit we thought it was. Epic is a step above that.
Okay, I like that. Next question is 22 more left. Um, what have you gained from being part of epic?
Oh
Like
my
the community now,
goodness.
not the word. Have you gained anything from it? Like, what have you
oh,
gained from it? You've
oh
been
I
there
mean,
twice, which means you came back, and you're
yeah,
coming back
yeah.
again.
Yep, 100%. And I think it's the people, and there's something. I think a lot of high achieve. I mean, this is probably why you created Epic, Stu. But I think there's something about people who are high achievers like us, who are starting their own business or just kind of like trying to build something. It is very difficult for me to take intentional time to take care of myself, to build relationships, to sort of feed my soul, because I'm so focused on helping other people. And so the beautiful thing about Epic for me is when I'm there, I am me. I get to
Mm.
actually be myself fully. I'm not pitching someone. I'm not being evaluated. I'm not, it's just being myself and getting to absorb the wonderful talents and knowledge of the whole community and just create such crazy connections that I feel like there's no pretense about it, you know? And I don't know if that's individual to me, but I feel very little pressure to perform or pretend, or I can just be fully myself and be fully present. And that's a real gift.
Yeah. Would you consider yourself, this is not one of my questions officially, this is me thinking out loud about
Yeah.
our time at Epic together. Would you consider yourself, when you're not on the stage or doing this type of thing, an introvert or an extrovert?
100%. Yep. 100%.
Which one?
I'm an introvert.
Okay.
Totally
I
an
said
introvert.
introvert, extrovert. You said 100%. I was like, oh,
I think I heard introvert and I was like, yep. And then my ears shut off.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Introvert. That's you, eh?
I'm a complete introvert. Yeah. Even at Epic, there's been one or two times where I think it was particularly after Dr. James Rouse, when we had his session, not this past one, but the one before, where my brain was just like, when I
Yeah.
went back to my room and I took like a half-hour nap, and I woke up and I was like, okay, I'm ready to like go back at it. But yeah, I definitely find a lot of those social things kind of draining. And when I'm on stage, I don't want to say I'm not myself, but it's sort of like the high energy version of myself. And I use all of that when I'm on the stage or when I'm in sort of like a performance mindset. And so afterward, I need to recharge for sure.
Yeah. I was going to say you're probably introverted
Yeah. Yeah. I
because
don't think.
I'm kicking myself that we haven't had this conversation before. And
Yeah.
I always felt like you needed your space at Epic. I didn't want to be, I'm loud and obnoxious. I get it. I'm a lot, but I'm actually not. Like I am
No.
totally fine being on my own. Like I really am. I sometimes I need it more than I say,
Yeah.
or more than I advocate for myself.
Well, and I always tell people too, like as I get to know them, I'm like, my default will be to kind of maintain some sense of solitude and think. Like I'll just be in my head thinking. But it doesn't mean that I don't want to talk to you. It's just that that's my default mode. So unless I'm consciously snapped out of it, like come up, say hi, and I'll be like, I would love to chat and hang out. It's just when I don't have that task in front of me, I will sort of go into rest mode. Like when you leave your TV on and it goes, or your computer, and it like goes into rest mode to like conserve battery life.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of what happens to
Yeah,
me.
it's a
So,
great analogy.
just, jiggle the mouse a little bit. It'll wake up.
Okay, I'll remember that. So here's my Tim Ferriss has a in his Tim Ferriss.
Mhm.
He has a in all of his his podcasts are so long. They're 3 hours long, right?
Oh yeah.
But I've listened to a lot of them, and one of the things he always asks his guests are if you could put a billboard up
Mm.
so everyone could read that billboard, what would it say? But I think billboards are pretty antiquated now. Like billboards are
Yeah.
they're geographical, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I have thought to myself, if you could send, do you remember when Apple put out their iPod and they preloaded
You too.
U2 on every iPod, so everybody had
Yeah.
to have yeah, right? And everyone's pissed
Yeah.
off about that because they're
Yeah.
like, I
Well,
don't
it was
even like
horrible.
U2. This
Yeah,
is
it was a
awful,
horrible
right? And then I
marketing
don't think
move.
they did U2 any favors.
Yeah.
But anyway, having said that, if you could send every single person who has a cell phone, which is
It's a lot.
most of the people in the world now,
Yep.
um, if you could send them a single line text, one text that one message that you wanted to, I'm
Mm.
stalling a bit to give you a second to think about it, that you could send out, um, what would it be?
I think it would probably be you can do more than you know. Something
Mm,
along those. I'd probably wordsmith. I'd probably think about it for a really long time and overthink every word. But something
well,
to
it's
the
because you're a
effect of,
writer.
yeah, that's what I do. That's my specialty. But both overthinking and writing. But yeah, I think something
Specialty.
along the lines of you can do more than you know, because I think particularly, I don't know, I feel like particularly in the last like 5 or so years, there's been so much negativity and so much draining in the world. And I feel like a lot of us have just been running on empty, on survival mode. And so just that reminder that like you can do more than you think. Like, I mean, believe in yourself sounds maybe corny, but I want to help people find that within themselves.
Yeah, that's what our camp has always been about, teaching kids they can do more than they think they can.
I mean, I didn't even know that. I didn't steal it,
No. I did.
but we're
I
in the
know.
same
No,
wavelength.
I think um, mine would be kind. We're supposed to be on
Mm,
the same team.
I like that too.
I don't know if that works, but we're supposed.
I
I'm
don't know
always
how
like
many
this.
characters we have, but maybe we could fit both, you know?
The original Twitter, 144
Yeah.
characters.
Okay. So we could definitely fit those both.
Yeah, we'll put them both in. Um, how do people get a hold of you? What if they want to connect with you after listening to this great epic conversation?
Yeah.
How do they
Um,
get a hold of you?
well, I like to joke that I'm very search optimized. There's only one of me as long as you spell my name right. So if you search for me wherever you're looking, you'll find me. But my website is storyfuel.co, and I'm working on a new website. So maybe it'll be even nicer when you see it next. But storyfuel.co has everything, stuff about the books, about working with me, all my social links, everything's there.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
This was,
for sharing this opportunity to just chat.
and I want to give credit where credit is due. Graham from Australia
Mhm.
reached out to me and said, "I want to get to know everybody in the community better." And
Mm,
this was his idea, to have these epic conversations.
I love it.
And yeah, I think it's really important that we've got a really great, talented pool of human beings, and
Yeah.
I think we should all get to know each other better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one of the things I love about Epic too, is there's no everyone is so open to getting to know everyone else. There's no, it's not, I find sometimes at conferences that, a typical conference you may have in your mind, there's cliques, there's people hanging out with, their own industry or their own company or,
Yeah.
their own like level within an organization. But it's really just, it's such a melting pot. And I'm so excited to learn more about all the other folks who are in there with us.
Yeah, and that's one thing I didn't. That's why I didn't want Epic to be like 1,000 people.
Yeah,
I don't want it to
it's
become
nice.
a schoolyard.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
good. You're
yeah.
doing it right.
Thanks, Melanie. I appreciate you,
I appreciate you.
and we'll see you. We'll see you soon. And seriously, if you're in New York and in May, come hang out. I'll buy you dinner.
Where am I in May? I'll figure it out, maybe.
Yeah, hang out with me and
Yeah,
Phil.
sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Melanie.
See you soon.